Okay,
I know.
okay.
That's
Gentlemen,
right. That's standing for.
Ken, Jim, you okay?
Yes.
Okay, gentlemen, we all, I guess, Donna, I'm assuming
We're ready.
Preston is not,
We don't know.
okay, so we will,
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
he just got us, gave me thumbs up, he said it was okay.
Yeah, but you have to wait for me too.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Board of Adjustment for the Town of Ocean View. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just two housekeeping. Number one, I hope you signed in. I think I saw everybody sign in. Number two, please turn your phones off. And number three, since we have 3 hearings this afternoon, when you're finished, you may leave. You do not have to stay for everybody else's. Okay? All right. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. I need approval of the agenda for today.
Move the agenda be approved.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. The approval of the minutes of April 20th, 2023.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Any business?
So at this time, the first item on the agenda, and Madam Chair, did you want to read that, or would you prefer that I do that?
You go ahead and read it.
The first item on the agenda is V442, 27 Hudson Avenue, CTM number 134-12.0-1533. It's an application submitted by property owners Warren D. and Claire D. Greer, requesting a variance from Article 1, Section 116.5-B1A of the Environmental Protection Chapter of the Town Code, which requires the lowest floor of a residential structure to be elevated to or above the base flood elevation plus 2 feet. The property owner wishes to construct an addition to the existing dwelling unit with the lowest floor elevation below the requirement of the base flood elevation plus 2 feet on property zoned R1 single family residential district located at 27 Hudson Avenue. At this time, I'd like to swear in the planning department head and the town clerk. So Mr. Simino and Ms. Schwartz, do you swear to tell, and also the town engineer, Jim Lober. Mr. Lober, Mr. Simino, and Ms. Schwartz, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth before the board in these proceedings?
I do.
All right, thank you. At this time, Madam Clerk, could you please advise if all notices have been sent in accordance with Section 141.8 of the code?
They have.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Simino, Mr. Lober, do either of you have any comments to present to the board?
I do. Thank you. According to a survey and Federal Emergency Management Agency elevation certificate completed by Simpler Surveying and Associates and submitted by the homeowner in support of their application, the proposed floor elevation of the addition to the dwelling unit is 7.3. The existing floor elevation of the house is also 7.3. According to the FEMA flood insurance rate map number 10005C0511K, the base flood elevation at this location is elevation 7. Constructing the addition to match the floor of the house will place it 0.3 feet above the base flood elevation, or 1.7 feet less than the 2 feet above the base flood elevation required by the code. Section 116.7, paragraph A stipulates that the Board of Adjustment shall have the power to authorize, in specific cases, such variances from the requirements of this article, not inconsistent with federal regulations, as will not be contrary to the public interest, where owing to special conditions of the lot or parcel, a literal enforcement of the provisions of this article would result in unnecessary hardship. Section 116.7, paragraph C states that when considering variances from the requirements of this article, the Board of Adjustment shall consider and make findings of fact on all evaluations, all relevant factors, requirements specified in other sections of this article, and the following factors. Number 1, the danger that materials may be swept onto other lands to the injury of others. Number 2, the danger to life and property due to flooding or erosion damage. Number 3, the susceptibility of proposed development and its contents, if applicable, to flood damage and the effect of such damage on the individual owner. Number 4, the importance of the services provided by the proposed development to the community. Number 5, the availability of alternative locations for the proposed use which are not subject to or subject to less flooding or erosion damage. Number 6, the necessity to the facility of a waterfront location where applicable or if the facility is a functionally dependent use. Number 7, the compatibility of the proposed use with existing and anticipated development. Number 8, the relationship with the proposed use to the comprehensive plan for that area. Number 9, the safety of access to the property in times of flood for ordinary and emergency vehicles. Number 10, the expected heights, velocity, duration, rate of rise, and sediment transport of the floodwaters and the effects of wave action, if applicable, expected at the site. And number 11, the costs of providing governmental services during and after flood conditions, including maintenance and repair of public utilities and facilities such as sewer, gas, electrical, and water systems, and streets and bridges. Section 116(7), paragraph D, states that an affirmative decision on a variance request shall only be issued upon 1, a showing of good and sufficient cause. A good and sufficient cause is one that deals solely with the physical characteristics of the property and cannot be based on the character of the planned construction or substantial improvement, the personal characteristics of the owner or inhabitants, or local provisions that regulate standards other than health and public safety standards. 2, a determination that failure to grant the variance would result in exceptional hardship due to the physical characteristics of the property. 3, increased cost or inconvenience of meeting the requirements of this article does not constitute an exceptional hardship to the applicant. 4, a determination that the granting of a variance for development within any designated floodway or special flood hazard area with base flood elevations but no floodway will not result in increased flood heights beyond that which is allowed in this article. 5, a determination that the granting of a variance will not result in additional threats to public safety, extraordinary public expense, nuisances, fraud, or victimization of the public, or conflict with existing laws. 6, a determination that the structure or other development is protected by methods to minimize flood damage. 7, a determination that the variance is the minimum necessary considering the flood hazard to afford relief. 8, upon consideration of the individual circumstances, the limitations and conditions and the purposes of this article, the Board of Adjustment may attach such conditions to variances as it deems necessary to further the purposes of this article. And 9, the Board of Adjustment shall notify in writing any applicant to whom a variance is granted for a building or structure with a lowest floor elevation below the base flood elevation that the variance is to the floodplain management requirements of this article only, and that the cost of federal flood insurance will be commensurate with the increased risk.
Thank you.
Does the board have any questions of Mr. Weber? Mr. Semino, do you have any comments you want to make?
No, I don't have any comments. Others say that the Office of Planning and Development does not oppose this variance request.
Okay.
And we may come back to some questions with you gentlemen in a minute. At this time, we'd like to call the applicants forward. Hi, and would you please state your names for the record
Claire D. Greer,
Warren D. Greer.
and your address?
27 Hudson Avenue.
27 Hudson Avenue,
Yes.
correct? Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Greer, do you swear to tell the truth and the whole truth before the board in these proceedings today?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. So at this time, feel free to make your presentation, and then the board may ask you some questions.
Okay. I just wanted to bring up a few points about our application. Currently, we already exceed the current famous standard by 0.33 feet. We will bring no harm to anyone else with this addendum and addition. We'll add no new mechanicals, which is important, so there'll be nothing that will affect that. We will also be installing flood vents to the addition. Our contractor will of course meet the building code as deemed necessary. And everything on site will be anchored appropriately, and there will be no danger to life or property with flooding or erosion before, after, or during the construction. The lot and property will be stabilized during and after construction. Nothing will be swept away. The property will still continue for residential use. There will never at any time be any blocking of anything for emergency equipment. We did submit letters of support from several neighbors expressing their support of our application. There will be no increase for flood damage. Our home currently is I like to say a rectangle with a square in the back, and now this will simply make the whole house a square. We're simply adding to where something else already is. There'll be no additional increase for the flood damage. The design will be compatible with the current home design, and there will be no increase for governmental services or costs during after flood conditions.
That's all you have to
Okay. My question on the survey that we have here, you have the dwelling and the chimney, and the proposed addition and the sunroom. The sunroom is existing,
Correct.
Yes.
It was built in
And-
1989.
and the deck is also an existing structure.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Gentlemen?
Yeah. Question.
Mr. Nooner?
My understanding is that when the original home was built, it did meet floodplain
Correct.
requirements?
Correct, and it does currently now.
Currently,
It does currently?
Yes.
So if it does currently, and the proposed addition is at the same height, right? I mean, you're talking about straight out,
Yes.
not walking up to it or down to it, right?
straight.
Straight, then what's the issue?
I think that'd be Mr.
So Mr. Lober, maybe it'd be better
Sure.
if you,
So FEMA requirements are that the finished floor needs to be above a base flood elevation. Town of Ocean requirements are that it needs to be 2 feet above. So it meets federal requirements. It doesn't meet the further, more restrictive requirements of the Town of Ocean.
I understand. So we're not being asked to waive any FEMA requirements, we're being asked to waive the town. Okay, thank you for that clarification, I appreciate that.
How difficult would it be to elevate the floor of the proposed addition? Would that be impossible for you to be in compliance?
Yeah, you know, what we're looking for is we're looking for
Continuity.
continuity, yeah, so it's straight across the back.
Okay.
We do that, then we're tying into a different part of the roof, and, you know, I mean, picture 2 different sets of roofs, like, you know, so it would be difficult.
The additional 1.5 feet would
Yes.
throw off the entire.
It would, yes.
And a new
yeah.
roof expense.
But it would not add an additional step inside.
Well,
No.
yes,
Or
it
anything
would,
else.
because it would have to be 2 feet up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
The
yeah.
Additional, it would,
Yes.
that way,
Yeah.
okay.
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 I think HGTV calls that shoppy. And expensive, more expensive.
Mr. Blanchard,
Okay.
any questions?
all right, and we have some comments for
Yes.
public comment. So do you have any further questions?
No,
of the
I think we're
applicants
okay.
at this
Mr.
time?
Nooner?
No, I'm
any-
okay, thank
You're
you.
okay?
Yes.
Mr. Lawless?
Thank
Mr.
you.
Blanchard? Okay, yes.
You can go ahead and have a seat, and we may call you back if they have questions after public comment.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
For the record, and I believe the applicant's already made mention of this, however, in the record have been introduced, and before the board have been introduced a number of letters from the applicant's neighbors in support of their application for the variance. We have a letter or email of Joe Pearson, a letter from Catherine Riley, an email from Elizabeth Oderish. I'm not sure how to say that, and I apologize if I've totally... And we have a letter from Joe, I can't read the last name, but it looks like Lagonzo. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment on this application? All right, there's no one requesting to make comment. Mr. Simmerno or Mr. Lober, do you have anything else to add?
No, I do not.
Madam Chair, I think the,
Is there anyone that's opposed or for, that needs to have publication that's here? Okay,
yeah, there's nobody online or anything.
all right, so
Yeah.
we're okay?
Yes.
Okay, all right, then I guess we need to have some type of motion made.
Madam Chair?
Oh, excuse me, I guess at this point we will close the public hearing.
Correct.
Okay, and then I'm apologize.
That's okay.
Good.
Madam Chair, I believe the applicant's made good and sufficient cause, dealing solely with the physical characteristics of the property in question. Failing to grant the variance would result in exceptional hardship due to the physical characteristics of this property. Granting the variance won't result in any additional threats, and the homeowners have had added flood windows or flood doors, you said, to protect and minimize flood damage. Based on that, I recommend approval of the variance.
Okay,
I second the motion.
all right, let's have a vote. All in favor, Mr. Nooner?
Aye.
Aye.
In favor.
Aye. Opposed? No, the motion has carried. Please, let me hit the gavel. The motion has carried. Now, again, as I said, you may stay or you may leave. You're welcome. Okay, moving right along. There we go. Madam Solicitor, if you would like to continue.
Certainly. So the second item on for new business this evening is the application V443 Seabrook Road, PIDN 094.570, CTM 134-12.00-2102.00. Application V443 submitted by the property owners Peter and Kelly Kenny for property zoned R1 Single Family Residential District located at 14 Seabrook Road. The property owners propose to construct a concrete patio and are seeking a variance from Article 5, Section 140-28 for all existing and proposed building structures on the lot to exceed the maximum allowable lot coverage of 35%. I am going to remind Mr. Semino, Mr. Lober, and the clerk that they are sworn in for these proceedings, and they remain sworn in for these proceedings. Madam Clerk, can you please advise if advertisement posting of this matter was made in accordance with 140-108 of the Town Code?
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Lober, Mr. Semino, any comments?
Yes, ma'am. The property owners propose to construct a concrete patio and are seeking a variance from Article 5, Section 140-28 for all existing and proposed buildings and structures on the lot to exceed the maximum allowable lot coverage of 35%. At this time, I think we'll read through the applicant's questionnaire for the standards for relief. Number 1, uniqueness. Do you have a unique circumstance or condition, such as irregularity, narrowness, or shallowness of lot size or shape, or exceptional topographical or other physical condition peculiar to the property? If so, please explain. The applicant states, the unique circumstance relating to our property is that it is non-conforming in the fact that the minimum lot size is 14,000 square feet, whereas the existing lot on our property is 10,125 square feet. The existing impervious coverage is 33.8%, and the proposed patio would increase the impervious to 37.6%, which exceeds the maximum coverage. If the lot area met the 14,000 square foot minimum, the proposed coverage would only be 27.2%. The proposed patio is 418 square feet, which is also the same amount the existing living space is short of the ordinance required living space. 12,000 square foot existing, 1,600 square foot is desired, which is noted on the plan as an existing non-conformance. B, is there exceptional practical difficulty due to such unique condition? The applicant responded This is to be a unique situation where the livable space is not large enough to meet the minimum, yet the existing coverage is almost at the maximum. The difficulty is that this lot is 10,125 square feet and has been zoned R1, which is for 14,000 plus square foot lots. Therefore, it is difficult to apply the maximum lot cover percentage for this lot size. Number 2, possibility of development. Can the property be developed in strict conformity with the zoning ordinance without a variance? If not, please explain. The applicant responded, no. The lot exists now in strict conformance to the ordinance, which will not permit the construction of any outdoor patio or decking behind the home, which we feel is something that we should be allowed within the parameters of the ordinance. A patio would be permitted, provided the lot met the minimum size, which it does not. B, is the variance necessary to enable reasonable use of the property? The applicant responded, yes, as there is no outdoor living space to have a picnic table and enjoy the fenced-in backyard. Approval of the variance will certainly enable us to maximize reasonable use of the property. Number 3, has a difficulty been created by the applicant? The applicant responded, no. The lot size was already established when we purchased the home in October 2021. We've made no changes to any outdoor space. 4, effect on surroundings. Will the variance alter the essential character of the neighborhood? The applicant responded, no, not in any way. The variance applies to the rear yard, which is surrounded by fence. Many neighbors have existing patios or decks to enjoy their own outdoor space. HOA approval has been obtained for this plan, and the completed architectural review form is attached. B, will the variance substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use for development of the adjacent property? No. C, will the variance be detrimental to public welfare? No. 5, extent of variance. Will the variance represent the least modification possible of regulations at issue? Yes. Is the variance necessary to afford relief? Yes, only minimum variance is requested. C, will the variance represent the least modification possible of regulations? Yes, only 2.6% over allowable. The existing lot coverage on this parcel of land is 33.8%, or 3,424 square feet. Maximum lot coverage in R1 residential single-family district is 35%, or in this case, 3,544 square feet. The proposed improvement will result in lot coverage of 37.6%, or 3,802 square feet. This is 2.6% above the maximum allowable impervious lot coverage of 35%. It should be noted that when this lot was created, prior to changes in the code in 2013, maximum lot coverage was 30% in R1 single-family residential district. Also noteworthy is that the applicant originally proposed a 525 square foot patio. This application has been revised by the applicant and shows a proposed patio of 418 square feet, a reduction in impervious cover of 1%, or 107 square feet.
Mr. Simino, are there any setback violations or anything as a consequence of this patio?
No.
So that basically this is just a variance to exceed the lot coverage requirement by 2.6%?
Yes.
So we need to,
Do you have any questions? Does the board have any
not
questions?
any questions before we talk to the applicant? Okay.
At this time, could we please call the applicants forward? Hi.
Hi,
And would you please state your names for the record?
Kelly Kevney.
John Robinson, I'm her engineer.
Okay. And are you, and the address of your property?
14 Seabrook Road.
Okay. And do you both swear to tell the truth before these proceedings today?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, do you guys want to go ahead and make your presentation?
I think Mr. Simino really did sum up with the application. That I think the uniqueness of the situation is that we have a smaller lot. You know, it's a 14,000 square foot zoning, and the lot is 10,000 square feet, 10,125 to be exact. And the the unique thing is that the house doesn't even meet the minimum livable space, yet they're hitting the ceiling of the impervious. So, and the one thing to note, and I think that was already noted, is that the patio that they're proposing, that she did pull back some of the impervious. It was on the right side, as you're looking at the plan, the right side of the house that filled in that corner, and she pulled that, you know, the applicants pulled that back and really just kind of tried to minimize what they wanted to construct.
We're just looking for an area to put an outdoor table, a picnic table, so we can enjoy the backyard.
And this will strictly be a patio?
Strictly.
It will not be a screened-in porch or?
No, just a patio.
Okay.
I think we're only allowed right now for 100 square foot patio, which clearly wouldn't fit a picnic table for maybe 2 people, but we were hoping for, you know, 6-person table.
And do you have houses behind you?
There is some houses around us, yes. Our yard is fenced in.
And immediately behind you, do you have houses?
There is a home behind us,
Yeah,
yes.
Gentlemen, questions?
No, I
Mr.
guess I
Mayor?
have sort of a front question. I'd like to know the history. How do we wind up with a 10,000 square foot lot in a R1 that requires 14,000 square foot in a house that's smaller than the minimum for the zoning? Was this a rezoning after the home and lot were already built and existing? How did we get where we are?
This is a long story.
I would draw the question.
I believe, if I have the history correct, the subdivision was recorded while it was still part of Sussex County, and it was annexed in to the town boundaries.
Oh,
The way
okay.
it is.
I can add to this. This type of lot is not uncommon on this side of Ocean View, meaning the north side of 26. Most of your lots are 100 by 100, Mitchell
They're
Estates,
small.
cottages.
I was just, wondering what the history was.
In my opinion, I believe it should have been rezoned when it was brought in, because it didn't match the R1 requirements, but it is what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lawless, you had a question?
It just seems like you've been caught in the middle between rezoning and changes in regulation.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, gentlemen?
So we need to, if they're done, we need to see if there's any public comment.
Okay.
Oh, I did not submit it to the board, but I do have a letter from a neighbor stating that it wouldn't change any.
If you would like to bring that up and give it to the clerk and, or actually give it to me. And
That'll
Do you
be
have any-
entered with your record.
yeah, I'll put this in on the record. Do you have anything else to add at this time?
No, I don't think so.
We may call you back, so have a seat
Okay.
and we'll.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to have public comment, but before we do that, I'm going to read into the record. We do have a letter presented by the applicant from Kimberly Neff, who indicates that she is writing to support the variance request at 14 Seabrook, and she does not believe that it will have any negative effect on their neighborhood. And we will make this part of the record, and I will present this to the clerk for part of the record.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else in the audience who wishes to make a comment on this application? There being none, Madam Chair, we turn it back over to you. We are going to close the public hearing at that case, and Madam Chair will.
And then we need to have a motion, gentlemen.
I'd like to make a motion.
Mr. Nooner?
I think because of the unique characteristics of this property, we have an extenuating situation in terms of the lot coverage. Also, there's evidence in the application that the homeowner has downsized the request to help bring it closer to the 35% requirement. So in all of those two factors, I'd like to recommend that we approve the requested variance.
Okay.
I second that.
Second one?
And just to clarify, that is a variance of 2.6% over the existing lot coverage, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and
I second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposition? The motion is carried. You may leave. You may leave. You are dismissed. You're more than welcome. Yes, it is.
All right, and so for the third and final application tonight, we will be hearing application V 44634 Old Forge Drive, PIDN 413.072, CTM 134-16.00-921.00. Application V 446 submitted by the property owner Joseph Casparello, I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you. Seeking a variance from Article 7, Section 140-35B2C, which states that a party may project into a required rear yard setback as long as it is placed no closer than 10 feet to any lot line. The property owner wishes to install a patio less than 10 feet from the rear property line on property zone MXPC, located at 34 Old Forge Drive. At this time, I would like to remind the town engineer, town clerk, and town planning director that they are remain under oath. And Madam Clerk, I would like to verify that all notices have been sent and all advertisements and sign posting made in accordance with 108 of the town code.
Yes, they have.
Thank you. Mr. Semino or Mr. Lober, do either of you have any comments or?
Yes, I do. The property owner wishes to install a patio less than 10 feet from the rear property line on a property zone MXPC, which is Mixed Use Plan Community, located at 34 Old Forge Drive. At this time, we'll read through the application for relief. Number one, uniqueness. Do you have a unique circumstance or condition such as irregularity, narrowness, or shallowness of lot size or shape, or exceptional topographical or other physical condition peculiar to the property? The applicant states yes, the house was built way back on the property, so the front yard is much larger than the rear yard. B, is there an exceptional practical difficulty due to such unique condition? The applicant responded yes, I need a patio in the rear of my house so the grandkids can play safely away from the street. Number two, possibility of development. Can the property be developed in strict conformity with the zoning ordinance without a variance? The applicant responded no, the house sits too far back on the property. Number five, missing a page.
No.
Guess they're out of order. Yeah, I only have 1, 2, and then straight to 5.
Do you need mine?
Do you have page 3?
I have one that says 5 expense of variance.
Yeah, there's a page missing. 3 and 4 are missing.
Yes, I'm missing 3 and 4 also.
Excellent, thank you, sir. 3, has the difficulty been created by the applicant? If not, please explain. The applicant responded, no, Ryan Holmes built the house on the property where it sits, I imagine. Number 4, effect on surroundings. A, will the variance alter the essential character of the neighborhood? No, we back up the woods that will never be developed. B, will the variance substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use for development of adjacent property? No, see pictures attached. There were pictures included with this application. C, will the variance be detrimental to public welfare? The applicant responded no. Number 5, extended variance. Will the variance represent the least modification possible of the regulations at issue? The applicant responded yes. B, is the variance necessary to afford relief? The applicant responded yes. C, will the variance represent the least modification possible of the regulations at issue? The applicant responded yes. Patio as proposed will be 8.5 feet from the rear property line, 1.5 feet closer than allowed by the town code. Thank you.
Does the board have any questions of Mr. Semino at the moment? Or do you want to hold off on your questions until the applicant? Yeah.
Yes, I'd like to.
If
No,
we-
no, I'm fine with Mr. Sabino, I'd like to hear
Okay.
the applicants.
All right, would the applicants please come forward? And would you please state your names for the record?
Joseph Casparello.
Karen Casparello,
And your address?
9450 Bell.
No, that's Ball.
Oh, that's, sorry.
34 Old Forest Drive.
I'm giving you my own.
That's quite all right. And do you swear to tell the truth and the whole truth before the board today?
I
Yes.
All right. So, please feel free to make your presentation.
We're just, I guess we built the house 3 years ago, had Ryan's built it, and it sits back, and it's completely wooded behind us. The house on both sides are up in front of us. So, and I have 3 pictures if you want to look at my phone, but you can't see the patio from anywhere. And I don't know enough about setbacks to even know when went to Greg, he said it was like 1.5 feet different or something, or 2 feet into the setback. So we're going through the motions to build a patio.
I guess it's a naive question. Is there any reason that Ryan built the home so far back?
Maybe
into the
because of the
woods?
model. There was only maybe 3 or 4 lots left at the time, and he asked us the model we chose, and that's the model we chose. And
So
they
it's,
built it. Like I say, I don't.
it's substantially further back than your existing
Than the
neighbors,
neighbors, correct.
than your neighbors on both sides.
We have a longer driveway and everything.
Okay.
And I guess because of the size of the house, they set it back. That was the only way they could build it on that lot, which, you know, we wanted to be by the woods. We like the woods behind us, really pretty.
And that's where you want to sit.
It looks like a wedge-shaped lot,
Yes,
where if it came forward any further, you'd be into the side
To the side.
yes.
setbacks.
Absolutely.
So they had no
That's the-
choice. If
that's
they're
the
gonna have that lot, that's where they had
Right.
to put it.
100%.
Have you given any thought to altering the shape of your patio?
Yes,
You're
but
a
it
foot and a
just-
half off.
Right.
Could you cut the patio back a
We-
foot and a half in that corner?
I would think so, yes, but,
And then you'd be in conformity and we wouldn't have this whole exercise.
I mean, I guess it's possible, but I'm not the landscaper, so I don't, you know,
It just would,
that's just the way
it
he
just
drew
would be
it.
more squared, you know, to.
Just the
to-
continuity of the,
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
of the patio.
And our neighbors on both sides, you know,
They're
they,
nice, they're real
they
nice.
they don't care, I'm sure, or they would be here.
Is your lot fenced
Yeah.
between your
No.
neighbors on each side?
No, we don't
So
have
it's
a
open?
fence, yes.
And behind you
It's
is,
the forest, we call it the forest, it's woods.
so it's property that's not going to be
No.
developed?
No.
Yeah, you can see them.
And on the other side of the woods is another development, so there's no possible way they could ever build back there. So,
How about your HOA? Has there been any?
It's been approved.
It's been approved by the HOA for it. Any other questions, gentlemen? These gentlemen, question?
It's not a question, I guess I'd just like to point something out. The house is not parallel, the rear of the house
Yeah.
is not parallel to the rear lot line.
Right.
And
That's
the-
right.
And the patio is parallel to the house, therefore it's also not parallel to the rear
Right.
lot line. So the amount of the patio that's only 8.5 feet off of that rear lot line is very small.
Mhm.
You very quickly get to a point where you're at 10 feet.
Right.
At your
I
property
said it's
line.
just the one corner.
It's just
there.
that-
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
over here.
Right, I can see that.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions of the applicants?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
thank you.
Please have a seat. Is there anyone in our huge audience that would like to make a comment on this application? Madam Chair, it appears that we have no one wishing to
I
make a
do,
comment.
no
Do we have
comment.
anyone in the vast viewing audience?
Okay, could we have a motion, gentlemen?
Madam Chair, considering the minute portion of the patio that is outside the requirement, I move that we grant this variance.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, the motion.
Clunker, clunker.
The motion is carried. Congratulations. Okay, before we go, gentlemen, we need to have the meeting adjourned.
I move we adjourn.
Oh, wait,
Matt,
excuse me.
can I just move to make
Sure.
one, Forgot to note on the record, we had closed the public hearing, so the public hearing on that matter is also closed and you voted, so.
We voted, so we're
Yes.
okay. And we have for the adjournment. you have-
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, may I?
Second.
Second. Motion
Aye.
has carried. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. And ladies.
Thank you very much.
And